Would right on. This lady wouldn't let me on.
Okay. All right, Tori, you are good to go.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 7:02 p.m. and welcome to our United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council Homeless Liaison meeting. And we're going to get started. I see our speakers here. And who's the young lady down in the corner? Oh, that's Beth.
Right, and then
Yes.
Hi, Beth.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is Beth Ross. So nice to be here.
Oh, thank you, Beth, for joining us today. And Abel and Beverly, and I can't see everyone, but welcome. I'm glad you guys could join us for this hot topic as usual, once a month, but it's a hot topic every day. And we have some news that came through this morning. I'm gonna let Beverly share that with us after we do the welcome and call to order. What you
right.
think?
I'm trying to. Can everyone see the
Agenda? Somebody's up there trying to get in, I guess.
No.
What is that written up there?
That's the computer AI assistant.
Oh, we have a computer AI assistant now. We're moving on up here.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Anyway.
I've seen it all. I just looked at an AI picture that I took at church the other day. It was like, is that me? Oh, okay, I like that. Okay, so we'll start with general public comments. Anyone? Beverly, would you like to share about what's happening with Gavin Newsom this morning?
Are you talking about?
Uh-oh.
Beverly, you just went mute again.
It muted.
Are you guys talking about his order?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think I can read it from the LA Times, but it's just saying that he's making an order. He has an order to just disperse the tent cities throughout, I guess, California. All I can tell you.
Yeah, I probably can look at that a little further and see if I can read it verbatim.
Yeah, I can. If you want to hold on a second, I can read it from the LA Times. But I mean, we knew it was coming since the Supreme Court passed down their law, earlier this month. So I'm not surprised.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're not surprised, but 2 weeks ago, that's one of the questions I asked the LAPD. Had they received any instructions or any orders to go forth with that yet? And they had not as of 2 weeks ago. But since this is fresh and new again, somebody trying to get in? Since it's fresh and new again, perhaps there will be something coming in the pipeline really soon.
Yeah, so what it says here is that it says Governor Gavin Newsom orders state agencies to clear homeless camps and encourages cities to do so. And so it just says, in their jurisdictions and urgencies to follow suit, a gesture that raised alarm among homeless advocates but drew immediate reaction from Los Angeles officials who say they are already doing so. So that's, here we are again. So citing the U.S. Supreme Court June's ruling that lessened restrictions on the enforcement of anti-camping laws, the order said there is no longer any barrier to local governments utilizing the substantial resources provided by the state in tandem with federal and local resources to address encampments with both urgency and humanity or excuse for not doing so. So that's what Governor Newsom had to say.
Okay, well, we shall see what's going to come after that, because some kind of action has to be called after something like that. But I know Mayor Bass just met with the Olympic Committee a couple days ago or so. And so I know that was coming next, because you can't have everybody on the streets like we've been having for the past 20 years on the street. So
Okay, so I'm gonna be a little Miss Bureaucrat, and
Uh-oh.
remind you that in general public comments, we just make the
Oh,
comments.
that's right,
And
comments
then when
on
we get to round robin on current issues, we can go have a discussion
further,
if we want.
yeah, right.
But right now, we're in general public comments on items not on the agenda.
Exactly. So that's not on the agenda as far as I know.
No, the public comment is fine, the discussion about it.
Right,
is so
right.
much.
Our sergeant of arms is,
Yeah.
this is just
Whatever.
public comment. Anybody else have any public comment that's not on the agenda? Beth, did you want to say anything, or you want to wait till discussion?
I'll wait till the discussion.
Okay, okay. So we've gotten past our
So number 3.
public comment. Do you have anything you want to say? Anything? Okay. So we don't really have
Roger's here.
Roger. We have our government agency who's going to report out and give us some updates of what's going on. This is Roger Estrada. He's with CD10. He's going to share some interesting news with us, updates. Thank you for coming, Roger.
Yeah, of course. Good evening. Sorry, I been MIA. I've been out sick and then had some emergencies to deal with. So everything's all into place, all under control now. Glad to be back. And I know I'm a little late, but I wanted to report back the Council District 10 specific homeless count results, which were great. And I'll get into what you guys were discussing a little bit after I share this information with you. But as you know, Councilwoman Heather Hutt adopted originally the systems that MRT left in place of homeless outreach, which was services first approach, which we wanted to make, a point that if you offer someone services first, it eventually leads into interim placement and then permanent housing. It's just, it takes some time. Not everybody is ready to go in right off the bat. And, it's been a long road, 3 years now of constantly teaching people about what it is that, causes homelessness and where everybody is, and about being trauma informed and about meeting people where they are. It's not just a simple cookie cutter system that can be put in place and expected to work for everybody.
Right.
Our system is catered to servicing those and meeting them where they are. And I'm happy to report that in the last year, since the last count in 2023, we've been able to place people permanently indoors in the amount of 329. This is exclusively for CD10. So 329 people were placed indoors. Out of those 329, 92% have stayed indoors.
That's good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so the other 8% have either fallen back or have passed away. It's very common for people to, once being placed indoors, it's common for them to pass away. It's just, sadly, that's just the way things are. Some people have spent 30 years of their life trying to survive, and once they get placed indoors, their body just, it's one of the sad things that doesn't get talked about enough. But, it's good news in a time of, very bad news and in a very tormented time in our country. But I think for our district, this is something we can celebrate and be proud of. This is a testament to the hard work that we've put in. So having said that, our approach to homelessness is not going to change, regardless of what happened today. So we're still going to stay true to our system, which is proven to work. Hopefully other districts follow our system and learn from us. Some of them have reached out and, taken bits and pieces of it and to each their own. But, we're happy that our system works and nothing's going to change as far as what we've done and what we're going to continue doing.
So that's some good news. So Roger, are they placing all of them in CD10?
No, so that's the good part, right? We're giving people the chance to not only move in when they're ready, but in a place where they feel safe. So what we've done, that I know is different in other council districts, is we've heavily been involved with gang interventionists so that people are placed in areas where they're in danger, they're placed in areas where they're safe. Other people have been taken away from gangs with permissions to take them away from gangs without any repercussion to the individual wanting to get away from, the lifestyle or from, the claws of gangs. A lot of little things like that. Another thing that's helping is the development and the building of permanent supportive housing. We're able to now place those people that want and need the extra help in places where they can get the help, regardless of, demographics or the area they're placed in. But mostly, a lot of these people are in spot 6 or spot 4, so they're close to the district. They're not being
Yeah.
placed, like, the skeptics used to say, put them in the desert or something like that. No, they're being placed within the city limits.
Okay, so spot 6 and 4. And,
Which
So
is
I
why
guess-
it moves so slow, because obviously, it's still, people don't want to leave to areas they're not comfortable in. So, but it's working.
Yeah, that's true. But what's the percentage that are in 6?
I'd say the large majority are in 6. I don't have
Okay.
that percentage, but I would say the large majority. And if I was going to go off the top of my head, I'd say about 70% are going to 6.
Approximately. Okay. That's good. And what percent is the 100% permanent supportive housing?
No, a lot of them go to higher level of care facilities. The older citizen, the senior citizen people, they tend to be placed in higher level of care facilities.
Okay.
And usually they pass that counts as being permanently placed. But the majority of the people being placed now are being placed in permanent supportive housing.
Oh, okay. That's good to know because I just left the Department of Mental Health meeting this morning, which is going to change to behavioral health service. Is based on the Behavioral Health Service Act.
Yeah, they're overhauling that whole thing.
Yeah, so that whole thing is going to be revamped. So, I was asking that for a reason about the permanent supportive housing. So, all of the permanent supportive housing that you do have has, well, I'm calling it PSH, but all the permanent housing that you're putting them in has supportive services.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah, the large majority of them do.
Okay.
Yeah, some of these buildings. We had 3 buildings that opened up in K-Town, and they don't have what I would say is full-time permanent supportive services, but it's people that are not that haven't scored high enough to require that higher level of care, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they kind of self-sufficient.
Yeah, they're self-sufficient. They're mostly rapid housing people, or people that are sustainable enough to live on their own without having the support system that others need.
Oh, okay.
So Beverly,
That's good.
Beverly has her hand up.
Oh, Beverly? Beverly?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I do have a couple questions for you. That 329 that have been permanently housed, what period of time does that span? Is that the last year, last 18
The
months?
last year, yeah, 1 year since the last count.
Good.
So, so the majority of the people that are temporarily housed are still being housed in hotels, motels?
From our district, we haven't had a lot of inside safes, so no, a lot of our people go into interim housing, which is not part of the mayor's program, and then from there they get housing navigation services and placed into permanent housing.
Okay,
A lot
well,
of people went to these buildings that are built from Measure H, Measure HH. Those are the buildings they're going into, and those were supposed to be permanent housing placements.
so Roger, do you have a dollar amount on how much of tax dollars have gone to for those who have not been permanently housed? What is that dollar amount? What was that figure amount?
I know they haven't released it,
like
so
80 some million in 1 year.
I don't know. I think it was around 65 million, but don't quote me on that. I know that Kenneth Mejia released those numbers. The city controller, you can actually go to his social media, and he has a very what I call, to me, because I'm very bad with numbers, a very dummy proof chart of where the money is and how much has been spent. It's very easy to find on all his social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. He'll tell you how much has been spent and where.
Okay, so
What's that you said? Who do you say?
Kenneth Mejia.
Kenneth Mejia, which we haven't really heard anything from him since he got held office. And the last question that I have, because I'm really concerned as a healthcare provider, you said there are, out of that, you said 92% have stayed and that's another 7% year or 8%. You're not sure what's actually happened to them, but some of them, as they actually get housed after being homeless for so many years, are not surviving. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's been, and I think it doesn't get spoken of, Beverly, and I understand your concern because it's amongst service providers, amongst case managers,
Uh-huh.
it becomes the norm once you start housing a lot of people. Let's say you have 15 people on your caseload.
Uh-huh.
Once you house 15 of them, 3 of them end up passing away just of natural causes, not because of the lack of access to health care or anything like that. It's just
Right. Okay.
you know
So are these generally people who are like maybe say elderly seniors or maybe?
no, it could be anything. It could be people coming off years of abuse from substance use. That's
Oh,
usually the main cause. Their body just gives up.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, some of us, a lot of the senior citizens that we place, no, I'm sorry, I'm still talking like I'm a case manager. From experience, the ones that do get placed in higher level of cares, and they end up being at those facilities, and basically till end of life is what they call it.
Yeah, it's sad. That's sad to hear. So I had referred you guys to a gentleman by the name of London who hangs out on the corner of uh the Chevron station on Adams and Crenshaw. And he's still there. He's still homeless. He's still asking for help. And he is drug addicted, for sure, without a doubt. How can I get him help?
Do you have my email, right, Beverly?
I think I have your cell phone number, but yeah, I do believe I have your email, sweetheart.
No, she email it to me because I can't text that information to the outreach, but I can email it to them in detail, and we can go
Okay.
out there ourselves and look for him. Give me a detailed description of him.
Okay, I will. As a matter of fact, as soon as I get off this call, I'll send you all that information.
Yeah, please, and I can get them there as soon as tomorrow or Monday to look for him.
Okay, thank you
And
so
that
much.
goes for anybody who's worried about anybody. Please email me and just give me a location, description of person, and if they have a contact number, even better. Or if you're the contact person and we can, liaison through you to go out there with the outreach teams and meet them, we can always do that.
I would be more than happy to do that because it's been my experience over the past 7 or 8 months is that a couple times that I've called in with people that I've actually gone and spoken to who are homeless and who are drug addicted and who are asking for help. The ball gets dropped. And so I'll be more than willing to help and work with you on this guy.
Yeah, please.
All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I'll get him connected with Hoppix and make sure that he doesn't fall through the cracks. I understand that happens a lot.
Topics is the problem though, but I'll work with you on this.
Oh no, I got my own little Hoppix team that we hire. We have our own little secret Hoppix team. Don't worry about that.
Good to hear.
Yeah, don't worry about that part.
Glad you're feeling better.
Thank you, Beverly.
Well, wait, but don't say that. We can tell you guys haven't read the agenda yet. Let's see. Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, so for everybody on the call,
this
Roger's
how-
name is showing on the Zoom, Roger Estrada, and so the email would be roger.estrada@lacity.org. And the reason I actually raised my hand,
Go ahead.
which maybe anyone could see, maybe they couldn't, at least a little good news. The long time waiting for the permanent supportive housing project on St. Andrew's Place near 18th is having, they've already started work, but they're having their groundbreaking, even though they broke ground 2 months ago, in mid-September at some point. But this is a project, it's only gonna end up with 20 PSH units, and it's taken from 2019 till now.
Wow.
To
Wow.
let everything come through. So that's the difficulty with these projects, because it's the pulling together of all the different funding. In this case, there's a historic house, the 1908 house. They're retaining-ish the house and building through and behind it. But so
Oh
this,
yeah,
but it's very complicated, and I'm not going to go into the details of why we like them and why it's also disappointing.
yeah.
But I mean, it's both. But in the end, people driving down the street will see, the setback on the house, and then more housing. And they got the number of units that were required. It's very complicated. It was a city-owned CRA project long ago. So the city owns the land, and it just makes it complicated. The city owning the land, by the way, makes it far more complicated than when compared to when a developer can buy the property outright. Because the city requires that every single worker, it's the prevailing wage. And it's not just that they need to be paid the prevailing wage, because by the way, here in, at my house and yours, we pay prevailing wage because we don't really have a choice. But it's the paperwork that has to be turned in weekly to the city requires the full-time employment of a person. So it's it's just very complicated. So, but that's not the only trouble with that one. Anyway, they're finding it hard to do a kind of real historic preservation project because each of the lending entities have their own requirements, and to have to bring in additional workers at prevailing wage. So, we're getting the best we can, but we are getting, and it's finally off the ground, permanent supportive housing at that location. So, Roger, it sounds like you knew a little something about it too.
Yeah, just little bits of part of it, but I just, the part that I've been working on is, you're right, the funding and the different places the funding comes from and what you can use certain funding from. So funding from Group A can only be used for A, B, and C, and then funding from Group B can only be used for 1, 2, 3. And it's a mess. And then if you want to invoice for it and you don't invoice right, you don't get paid, contractor doesn't work, and it all trickles down. It's very, very complicated. So we want to introduce a motion overall to just really simplify the billing and the lexicon of these contracts so that people understand how to invoice easier and get paid quicker. As we know, the city needs more people in the city clerk's office to process things. The CAO's office has picked up on a lot of the invoicing, but still the lexicon isn't there from the people asking for the money when they do go ahead and invoice the city. The city is very particular about what they want to see and what's on those invoices. So I've submitted about things like that, but that usually makes projects take a lot longer to get off the ground.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, one suggestion, and I have no idea how this would work, but it feels to me that if the city wants to remove some layer of the bureaucracy, if they created a private trust organization where essentially during the course of construction, the land could be transferred to this private organization. So still pay prevailing wage, but get rid of some of the bureaucracy. And then with a caveat that it gets transferred back to the city after construction is complete or something. I mean, there's got to be a way to do something to eliminate some of this. Project difficulty.
The problem is sometimes some of it isn't enough even, right? So that's what we want to do. We want to just simplify so that moving forward in future projects, these things are already, very legible to anybody, not just someone who has to be retrained on how the processes work and having to, relearn how to reinvent the wheel every time they're going to hire someone new or someone new takes over, because these nonprofits, as you know, have high turnaround rates. City council offices are only there for X amount of years. So it's always there's always a relearning phase when it comes to anything when it comes to the city. So we want to make sure that gets simplified so that it just, it doesn't hit any hiccups with any organization or with any administration.
But, and then also,
by
the way, the new controller, who one would have thought would be progressive and a little loosey-goosey, not so much.
No, he's very
very picky. Or the people he's hired, very, very picky.
So I've personally met him and worked with him, and he's not as progressive as people put him out to be. I would actually call him a very tough fiscal conservative.
Yeah. Somebody's in. Oh, okay, sorry. Somebody's trying to come into the meeting. Sorry. But
Donna sounded like she was saying something.
Yeah, well, Donna just experienced this, but on a different level. But anyway.
Yeah, but like I said, on that note, I'll leave you with that note. With Kenneth Mejia, very, very detailed information on his website. You can find anything there, where the money's going, why it's not being used, or what hasn't been used. where it's being misused, how we're spending money that we shouldn't be spending. All that information is getting out there now, whether we like it or not. I think
Right.
it's good. I think it's great. So yeah, but I want to recommend everybody go and check his websites out because they're very informative, super informative, whether you like him or not.
I was not making a comment about whether I liked it
Yeah,
or
no,
not.
this is
I'm
just
just
general.
making a comment that I've, both with this particular project, because I have been involved with it,
Mhm.
but also through the neighborhood council, it's like, there's someone who's very, very picky on his staff. Beverly,
That's
Beverly
okay.
has her hand up.
Is that the same hand? Or that's
it's
another
no, she
hand?
popped it
Okay.
back up.
You know,
Beverly?
yeah, I'm glad to hear that, actually. Roger, thanks for sharing that he's very picky because, we've been dealing with homelessness for 31 years now with billions of dollars spent and no accountability of where the money goes. So
Yeah.
kudos for him. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. People don't like being held accountable. I learned that my first year,
Right.
so we had a lot of changes.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
I have a couple of people still waiting for a grant that they had written under the old regime, and they said it was ready, approved, and everything, and they still waiting. So that was right before COVID. So, Roger, we're gonna have to have you check on that eventually.
Let me know.
But
He's
I'll let you know. And then, really quick, one of the questions I was gonna ask is the behavioral. We might as well start using the new terminology now. But the behavioral health issues that some individuals have. Have you ever thought about using that assisted living? They are licensed for mental health, and right now a lot of them are closing because of the state reimbursement is like $44 a day for a 24-hour, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week facility. So I was thinking, since some of the interim housings had closed and they were paying much more, why can't some of that money go towards that?
I think that's
So-
where the county comes in. That's their when they split
Uh,
the duties. That falls under the county.
All of it? Okay.
Yeah.
The assisted living is all county?
Anything facilities related, yeah, our county.
Huh. I'll check with that. I'll ask Holly. Or
Yeah, we're strictly on the ground services is what we're.
Oh, okay. So
And a lot of our outreach teams have funding that comes from Housing for Health and all that stuff.
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, different
Okay.
facilities. Hmm.
And how have you guys been using LA Hops?
I am LA Hop because I want people to get the help now. So like Beverly says, she has the gentleman in London who she's been trying to get help, and if she goes to LA Hop, those things take 72 hours by the time they get it.
Yeah,
So
they
if
go.
I get it on, if I get it today, I can jump on it tomorrow and push to get it done. So
Sounds
I'm
good. Sounds good to me. And I'm here to
all
help
right,
you.
I gotta jump to the UNNC to the Empowerment Congress now, but I appreciate
that's right.
everybody here.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Thank you
And before you leave, I want you to say hi to Abel. Abel is the faith-based, he'll explain to you from Hoppix.
Hey, Roger, nice to meet you. And where are you from again, Roger?
Hello, sir. I'm from Council District 10.
Council District 10. That's
Yes, sir.
great. That's great. And what organization? Just Council District 10?
That's Council District 10.
Yeah.
Heather Hutt.
Heather
Okay,
Hutt.
great.
Yeah,
Nice
Councilwoman
to
Heather
meet
Hutt
you,
is-
Roger.
is
I
my
don't know if I've seen you out there, but nice to meet you.
Probably sometimes with the teams out there.
Yeah, great.
Okay, well, you guys get to know each other. I'm offline. We'll go walking one day with you. Okay?
Yep, let me know anytime.
I
Have a good one.
will. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Roger.
Okay, now with no further ado, we have our guest speaker tonight. Let me get this title straight. This is Abel Prudhomme, and he's the faith-based regional coordinator for our SPA 6. For those who don't know SPA, because our council districts don't speak in SPA language, it stands for Service Planning Area. So we are SPA 6. And so Abel's gonna,
UNNC spoke.
and we have a little bit of 4 in ours too, but he's specifically for 6, and we have the majority 6. So, Abel, the floor is all yours, unless Beth has a question.
No.
No, okay, the floor is all yours, Abel.
All right, and to make sure I hold myself to time, I know we went back and forth about this earlier, but how long do I have?
You have, oh, is my phone, it's 7:31. You have a good amount of time, at least 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay,
And
okay,
you can share your screen. He has
Oh.
access to share his screen.
Not yet. Do you
okay.
need, are you gonna do screen share?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit.
Okay, hang on, let me make you co-host.
Okay. That's one way to do
Now
it.
you should be able to share
And
your.
what's your name? Because it just says
I'm
UNNC.
Laura Meyer. Yeah, because it just says UNNC. So there's three of us in the room. I'm Laura Myers, and I'm the UNNC's vice president. And for Tori, I'm her Zoom host.
Monitor.
Well, whatever. Zoom person.
That's nice.
Coordinator.
Tori,
Unless I can't come, in which case somebody else comes. And then also,
Yeah, Corinne over
would you
here.
say words?
Hi, I'm Corinne Elbridge. I'm with the Homelessness Committee. Nice to meet you.
Great. Say it again.
Corinne Elbridge.
Nice to meet you, Kareem.
She's part of the homelessness committee.
Homelessness Committee.
Pleasure. Yeah, always, when I walk in a room, I'm always like, especially if I'm speaking, I try to be respectful because I understand that you have your meeting every single time you meet, whether it's weekly, whatever. I know that you have a format. I know you have an expectancy, and I know that there's an atmosphere and that there's a cohesion between people who are, conducting conferences and et cetera. So I thank you for having me come. Tori's been talking to me for a while. I met Tori at Holman Unified Methodist Church, and because I'm out there connecting with the churches, and then Tori has been asking me to come and speak for a while. And I just be honest with you, each time I tell her, well, Tori, I'm out there connecting with the churches. It doesn't seem like, so finally what we decided was that I would come and present on what's taking place with the faith-based regional coordination. What is that? What is happening? But I also brought some other things as well, as far as, how to connect access centers, all that kind of stuff. And I'll have things that I'm going to give Tori to give you, and I'll be trying to put them in the chat when I finish speaking and all of that. But let me tell you, I'm not I don't consider myself, I don't think I ever will consider myself to be professionalized. I don't deal with things kind of that way. And I literally live on the edge because I kind of work from the heart. And sometimes that can get you in trouble. And I know we all work from the heart, but what I'm trying to say is that, let me put it this way. My background in this industry starts from a sidewalk because I was homeless. And I'll be honest with you, it took a while for me to talk about that in the nonprofit realm. It wasn't until I went to a convention that I felt comfortable talking about it. And to be honest with you, I used to cry the first few times, and I feel like that's trying to happen now. I ain't gonna let it. But I was homeless. I lived in Skid Row. I've lived all over South LA as well during that time. I don't want to go all into it, but that was in my teens. That's when I was younger. And there were times I had to find a place to sleep. I remember there was an all-night theater. I went to the all-night theater because I just wanted a place to sleep, some with a roof over my head. And my journey out of that is a faith-based journey. And as I already said, normally I'm speaking to people in the faith community. And I believe that I've got a few representatives. I know Beth's here, Tori's here, et cetera. But just follow me in this little different kind of a way to start things as I perceive it is right now. I had an encounter with, now we're different faiths. I assist different faiths, but in my faith, I had an encounter with Jesus Christ. And that made all the difference. In that moment, it made the difference. I had substance abuse issues. I had a lot of issues, and I'm not going to try to list them here, but that all ended in that moment. So to go to the faith community, I understand the power of the faith community in SPA 6 in the inner city. And let me back up a little bit more too, if I may. I entered into this position. not ambitiously or career-wise. I just want to kind of put it that way. I entered into this position because I felt God had a calling on my life to help the faith community. And this may sound a little odd, but a year before I took this position, I literally believed that God had told me to shut down. I was a pastor at the time. We're pastoring online in the pandemic, to shut down that ministry. And by that, I just let people go where they wanted to, just kind of let it go. Because the following year, I know this sounds a little, but the following year, I believe God was telling me that I was going to go and help the churches to get out there and connect with people. I believe that. And so I'm a very organized, detailed, it's one of my gifts is organization and detail and all this kind of stuff. So I did all this establishing and preparing, and almost like Noah preparing the ark. I got all this together. And finally, I found myself on my knees at on the last Tuesday of November of this year. This year's coming to an end, this preparation year. And I was literally like, God, you told me you're going to have me go and do all of this with the churches, but Lord, I work in Compton, and I go into my office once in a while in Compton, and because of the way things worked out, I'm up here in Monrovia now where I live. I don't know, maybe I'll make flyers and go pass them out and get off the train and pass them out to people. Maybe you know what? I'm so creative. I don't trust my creativity. I don't trust my mind more than I trust you. This is how I pray. I'll trust you. You handle it. I didn't ask for this anyway. I'll trust you. So I was in data. I'm not a former case manager. I used to be in the FSC, and I used to be their program person to help them with things, but I was in data. And I sat down with my data manager with our one-on-one that we have every month. And he says to me, this is 2 days after I just trusted God with it. He says to me, Abel, I know you, because I'm an open book. He knows why that's just the way I am. How you doing? I was reading the Bible this morning. He just knows me. So he says, I know your heart. Did you know there's a faith-based, first time I heard this phrase, faith-based regional coordinator position available? And they'd love to hire you. They knew, because they know your talents. They'd love to put you in that. All this, I'm like, of course, I'm like answer to prayer shock. That's kind of how I roll. And he tells me about the position. The next morning at 8 a.m., I get an email from the senior manager. Hey, can we meet? 2 hours later, I'm in my first interview. That's a Friday. I go through the weekend. Come Monday morning, I got the same thing going, 8 a.m., and I'm meeting with the associate director at 10 a.m. and the senior manager. And then I look back, and this is obviously a testimony, so I'm about done with it. I look back, and the date that I began the position was January 3rd, 2023, first working day of the year. And as I like to say, and from my understanding, often when God answers a prayer, he likes to sign off and say, you're going to know I did this. This is the first working day of the year. I told you so. Okay. So why do I give you that background? I give you that background because I literally hit the streets. I forgive me. I'm very poetic in the way I think. So I'm thinking in war terminology, but I was in the trenches. I've been in the trenches all last year, all into this year, which we can get into that. But I was out there. So I went from basically just a few churches and a few people I knew in the inner city, in the faith community, to reaching to somewhere between 250 and 400 different faith centers that I'm connected with now, and then connecting with the social service agencies. I was able to connect with 200 or more, and things began to happen as the year went on. So this is SPA 6, by the way. And if I may, I believe I've got a lot of support and a lot of help, but I just want to let you know that with the faith-based regional coordination, in many respects, SPA 6 has led the way. I was able to connect and then begin to help different faith centers to maximize, shall we say, their community resource fairs. Where we're at, then there were other things that took place. But let me back up a little bit. I'm saying a lot of let me be clear. Faith-based regional coordination is taking place all across Los Angeles County. This is, and I'm going to show you a few things in a second. I want to finish this verbal introduction and show you a few things that'll actually, you can see a few things of what I'm talking about. But faith-based regional coordination is something that began from the LA County through the faith collaborative to end homelessness. Maybe some of you might know Janice Martin, for example. She's one of the members of that. That is where people, they had pastors actually coming to them, to the county, to this commission, and to other people saying, hey, you got all these programs. It's overwhelming for us. We don't understand all of this. We're just, we're just faith center. We're just faith leaders. We're just pastors or whatever. So they said, you need to give us somebody, at least somebody who can connect us to all of this. And that's where these positions were born from. This is the background that I was given. This is the history that I was given. So from that, these positions were created. And when I began, there were only 4 out of the 8 that were needed for all 8 different SPAs. SPAs, as Tori said, to be clear, that's a service planning area. You look at the map of LA County, it looks like a small nation. It's big enough to swallow several nations that are on the global map. That's how big it is. So they divide it up into different areas. Service planning area, because in each of those areas, there is a plan to give out the services that are available to those who are in need, such as myself back in the day. And if I may, the other thing I found out at that convention was that during the recession, I was homeless again. I know I'm diverging, but we had to double up because I was working in the real estate industry at the time. Hello, if you know the history of that. So I lost my job. I was in line. Finally, I'm talking to the people in line. I'm like, the guy behind me is a former CEO. The guy in front of me is an executive. I'm not going to be able to get one of these nice jobs. So I took 3 jobs. I took 3 jobs for it wound up being 2 jobs. I was blessed when it was only 2. I was like, oh, thank goodness. I had 3 jobs. And at the height of it, I had 3 jobs, 7 different classes I was doing online. But anyway, we had to go and live with some people for about 1.5 years, 2 different families. And I found, oh, you were homeless. Hey, well, you were doubling up. Okay, I didn't know that. So to go back to this as I conclude. So faith-based regional coordination is taking place in the other SPAs. Here in SPA 6, let me tell you, I have walked into, this was kind of a method I had last year because I was just connecting with churches. Now we're kind of going a different direction. But I would just walk into a church and, and then I would meet with them, or I'd show up at one of their meetings and meet with them. So there's a lot of telephone calls, there's a lot of this and that. But the way I believe the faith community appreciate more was to actually meet them in person. So I would go out and connect with them in person. Why do I tell you that? I tell you that for this, in defense of the faith community. So there's a lot of negative vibe towards the faith community from people that I meet in spaces that I find myself in. And I find myself having to say what I'm about to say right now. So I have found from my experience and from being in the trenches like this, that in a community, this is kind of a, like a Spider-Man axiom. If you know Spider-Man's little, with great power comes great responsibility and all that. Well, I have found that the greater the amount of crime, the greater the amount of poverty in a community, I have found the greater the commitment of the faith community there, of that congregation and of that leader. Now, I'm not going to say every faith leader I meet, because, I got a little bit of street sense. I'm not saying every faith leader I meet, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he's, once in a while, I think that guy's not really committed in his heart. But I'm telling you, the majority in SPA 6, I can't vouch for the other SPAs, but in SPA 6, they are. And by the way, I'm going to diverge a little bit more again. You find I do this. You folks over there in the Arlington area, if you're old enough, y'all know about Tickle Hill. I just want to let you know that that's my neighborhood where you're at. I did the funky chicken for somebody at age 6 right off of Tickle Hill right over there. My wife and I were, during the recession, when I finally did, one of the 3 jobs I had was managing the apartment building on the corner of Arlington and Rodeo right over there. And in fact, Tori and I were someplace on Saturday, and I was letting Tori know that right down the street was my maternal grandmother, where she lived at over there. So I just let you know. So to come back to this, the faith community, their problem with the services that we offer has been, before all this began, that they didn't know we existed. They didn't know they didn't know anything about a LASA, about a HOPIX. They didn't know anything about a CD10. They didn't know anything about none of that. And I found that the best of them, this is the majority, I'm saying, not everybody, of course, especially I'm talking to Beth, Beth's from Fame. I'm talking to Tori. Tori's over there at home, and they've got community development center type stuff going on all the time. But the majority of these faith centers, these churches, mostly in SPAR 6, they didn't even know. They didn't know. They know what's that? What really? The best I would find were giving out food, or even better, they were giving out food and clothing as they continue to do. So I'm going to quote someone in the Faith Collaborative to End Homelessness, a pastor who made this comment, and his comment was about this whole thing about them finding out what we're doing. His comment was, "The sleeping giant has been awakened." Now, if you know history, that's a quote, of course, from World War II that the Japanese said about us after they bombed us in Pearl Harbor. Oh my gosh, the sleeping giant, some admiral said, has been awakened. So what does that mean? We were, and I bet all of you were in there, a good majority of you were there. There was an online meeting last year. Yeah, I know we got a new release this year, but for the one last year, I was sitting in that online meeting, and it was the meeting where they released the homeless count that year. Meeting, okay? In that meeting, there was a press representative, you know, some news person, and they had a very important question. It was a good question. The question was, all these programs you have, what's the percentage of the people who actually complete the program? And what's her name? Dr. Kellum, you know, who's over LASA. Dr. Kellum, you know, she didn't know. She says, I don't know, but I'll find that out and we'll get that back to you. Okay, great. Why am I bringing that up? Abel, why'd you bring that up? I brought it up for this reason. In that moment, I, within my heart, was crystallized in what I'm doing further, because I realized that the answer was, for me at least, whatever that figure is, whatever that percentile is, whatever that percentage is, it will be much greater if the faith community is involved. Now, how am I saying this? Look, again, my background is living on the streets. My family, you know, they know me. I tell them, they already know me. I tell them, you know, we have a famine and we ain't got nothing to eat. I'll be testing the sofa to see if it's nutrition. I'm gonna survive, okay? So, because I've learned how to do that. But what I'm saying is that if you had Jethro, homeless on the corner. Now, again, I grew up in LA, okay? I lived over there at 6th Ave when I was 6 years old, right near where Marvin Gaye's father got shot by Marvin Gaye. So
Reverse.
if Jethro was on the corner and Jethro was homeless, we call Jethro's grandma and one of us will go pick him up. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, Los Angeles, the city of LA, we were united. We played in the street. Here's the one I always think of. I climbed a tree one day to save a cat. When I came down from the tree, there was the whole neighborhood at the bottom applauding me. Now, with a community like that, we took care of homelessness. Something happened along the way. It's been said that Los Angeles is a city built on fear. You know what I'm talking about? You get in the elevator, nobody's talking to each other for 20 flights up. You know, it's something happened along the way. We lost community. Why are you bringing this up, Abel? I think you may see where I'm going with this. If Jethro is down there, now let's say where there ain't no grandma. This is modern day, Abel. There's no community to go pick him up. Okay, so we have to get him into a community. There's many different ways you could do that, but there's one that's been here for over 400 years back in the days of Richard Allen. And you know, Beth Ross knows who Richard Allen is. He founded the African Methodist Episcopalian Church. But there has been the faith community here for 400 years before us nonprofits existed. And they've been on the ground fighting to save the life of everybody around them. So what I'm saying is you bring Jethro in now, grandma ain't here. Okay, bring Jethro in now to a faith community that's doing what a faith community should do. I'm going to show you something in a minute. Not everybody's doing it. And if everybody did, it'd be so easy to fix it. But you bring it to one that is going to actually love on him. He's got a father figure, maybe in the faith leader, or a mother figure in the faith leader. He's got other mother and father figures around him. He's got people taking him over their homes for chicken dinner. You know what I'm saying? They're actually integrating him into their life. That's what I experienced When I got out of homelessness, that's what I experienced. People were taking care of me. And I had people to look up to, and I had people looking out for me. I had a community. So my perspective at 100% because I was surrounded with the community. So I do realize that, I'm the faith-based regional coordinator. I am based at Hopix. I always make that clear, as our other faith-based regional coordinators do, because inside of every one of the 8 service planning areas, there is one that is set up. There is one nonprofit that is set up as the lead agency in that area. For example, People's Concern is for SPA 4, as you guys, I'm sure know. So each one of the faith-based regional coordinators are based at that lead agency. I say based. So what do you mean based? I'll tell you what my former senior manager told me for her to help make sure I got this clear. She says, Abel, please understand that if Hopix lost their contract and Hopix was wiped away and now somebody else had that lead contract, you would still have a job. You're actually based here. You're based here from this whole thing that's going on from LA County, FCH, and all this kind of stuff. So they're based at that lead agency because we are in the trenches working together with that agency and tangent with them. But definitely, as Tori knows, I don't limit myself to the availability of services that are at Hopix, and I know Hopix doesn't want me to do that. There's other services as well. So I kind of went into things like that. I want to give you a few visuals, if I may. I know this may not be as I'm speaking, I'm like, hey, but you don't sound too much like a normal presenter. I have a hard time being a normal presenter, I guess. I don't. But let me share a screen a little bit. And just to show you, and I brought a few things I'm going to share with Tori to share with you. And like I said, I'll try to drop them in the chat when I finish talking, whatever's left of the meeting. And I'm about done. He said, let's see. Here we go. All right, so I just want to share a few things with you guys. So let me do this and just kind of expand this. That's where I want to be. Let me get over here. I just brought the website up there in case you need it. So let me just share a few things. Let's do the view. This is real short. This is not some long slide presentation. So let me get up here. So faith-based regional coordination, SPA 6 is the area. And by the way, a SPA 6, service planning area 6, you look at some of the other service planning area, the list of the cities they have, they got this long list of cities. SPA 6 has Compton, Paramount, Linwood, and all of South Los Angeles. That's all. That's all. I think now I've heard it said that SPA 6 in the nation, the concentration is in SPA 4, but SPA 6 in the nation, all combined in SPA 6, has the highest rate of homelessness. I've heard that said before, but let me say that we have a high saturation of need in our community. That being said, among the different faith-based regional coordinators that I connect with them once a month. As I connect with them, there's a little difference between them and me, particularly in some of these spas like SPA 1 and 2, but there is a higher saturation of faith centers in SPA 6. Let me illustrate. I picked up a friend. We were going to go to dinner. It's a sister living up in Alhambra. So my wife and I picked her up, and as we were driving down, because one of my 3 jobs was in the middle of the 2 to 6 a.m. I used to give out tickets for some security guard company. I had a contract with Alhambra PD. So I know Alhambra very well. So we're driving down one of the main streets of Alhambra for a long time. We're driving a long time. And to explain what I do, I did it like this. I said, how many churches have you seen as we went down the street? And she thought for a minute. She said, none. I said, okay. Go down a main street in SPA 6 in the inner city in South LA, for example, much less Compton, etc. Do that, and you're going to see a church, 2 or 3 on this corner, on this street, this block, 2 or 3 there, 2 or 3 there, maybe 4 there. And then when you go down to your grandma's house, next door to your grandma, it's going to be another church. That's SPA 6. We are saturated. We got lots of faith centers there. Now, again, to help in defense of the faith community, as the city had all this happen, and as the community was lost, and as the funding and all that you folks are more professional, you guys know this stuff better than me. But as all that fell up, and I have respect, by the way, I have respect But Tori and the rest of you, when I talk to you, like Sister Bernice Knopflin, when I talk to her, you've been at this, you see things fall apart, they haven't worked, and here Abel's coming along. What's gonna happen? I always do that with Bernice. I saw her on Saturday. I'm like, Bernice, let's find a way. Let's let's go, you know. So I understand, but understand that faith community has had to deal with all these things as they've gone through it, much less the pandemic, much less everything else. So, you know, they're withered, but they're coming in now and they're excited about what's happening. So let me jump into this. So that's the faith-based regional coordination. I got a little slide there for you. Let's go down a little bit, go a little faster. Okay. This is the Homeless Initiative, Los Angeles County Homeless Initiative. It talks about faith collaborative to end homelessness there. I'll make sure to get that link to you. I'm giving myself a bunch of work for you, Joe, but I'm gonna get the link for this
Okay.
to you that we're looking at this one slide. I'm gonna get the link for that and get that to you. But when you go on there, and I'm not gonna try to, in this meeting, hey, the video's not working and all of that, but let me tell you, because I got the video in the slide presentation. I think it's coming up next. Let's do that. Because this little thing at the bottom, you can tell it's like a YouTube video. I've got that video somewhere in here. Where's that at? It'll
There's
come.
my 6.
Yeah, it'll come up. Oh, okay. I just think I jumped the gun a little bit.
Yeah, there's 5, 6.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, this is the video. Now I'm not going to try to take you through the video, but let me tell you, it's a video that has a couple who were homeless, and they were homeless, but then they were able to go to a church. In their case, it was a church. They went to a church, and the church knew how to connect them to the different services. They knew what a Hopics was. They knew what a this was and that was. And the church themselves, like Beth, I think it was, well, not Beth, it was the other sister works with you, Beth. We worked with someone, there was a widow, she had, there was a fire, she wound up having to be in a hotel. She was about to be homeless because they were going to put her out the hotel, motel or something, and we were able to get her place. So this is a scenario like that. The church stayed involved and went with this couple, didn't just say, go, here's the access center. They went with them to the access center. Made sure they got housing, and then they stayed with them, brought them into their family, loved on them, and now they're part of the church, and now they got a community, you see. So that's what this video that they're showing is illustrating. So again, I'll get this to you, Tori. Now,
Okay.
if I
Thank
can, I think my little, it's trying to play the video.
It's trying.
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, take 2 minutes. This is worth it.
We were just all over the place.
Let me do it like this.
And we had no,
I'm so used to there being problems with video, but if it's working, check it out.
our finances, they weren't good. We were just all over the place. And we had no stability.
Oh, that just happened.
You still talking?
Yeah, but our audio is okay. Yeah, our audio is okay. His audio went out. So, Abel, your audio went out on this.
Is that better?
Yes.
Going out again.
Went out again.
Okay, I stopped it. You guys take a look at it later. I don't want to take up too much time, you know, and I kind of gave you the synopsis of it. Again, that's a video that's featured by the LA Collaborative, the Faith Collaborative to End Homelessness. Anyway, I'm trying to talk and chew gum, and that's always hard for me. There we go. So how many worship centers are there in the city of LA? That's a good question, right? So there's, according to this study here, and it's back in 2019, I'm sure the numbers have changed. Greater Los Angeles contains over 2,000 churches. I would contest that because I haven't found a real list of all the churches in the area yet. Like I said, you turn the corner, come on. But still, let's get a number we can work with. 2,000. Okay, there's 2,000. See if this second. I don't know why the down button is not working. Page down button is not working today, like it should. Okay, so let's jump in here. So now, according to these figures here, according to this study, we have 4,000 4,709,504 congregants in Los Angeles County. Okay. All right. And you say, well, that can't be right. When you look at there, there you go. There's the Catholic adherents, congregation and adherents, all the way down. You got Mormons, Southern Baptists, we got Buddhists, we got everything. This is LA County, not SPA 6. Okay. So there you go. So that's almost 5 million congregants. That doesn't mean they go every single Sunday or Sunday or whatever day it is, but let's just get a figure we can use. So let's take it 4.5. Okay. So now let's go down. Now let's just look at this, a profound, purely numerical reality. The total residents in LA County, according to this, at this time, was 9,818,605 people. The total adherents who are attending church from time to time, or synagogue or temple or whatever, is the figure we just looked at, 4,709,504. Thus, life here in this county could be considerably improved if each adherent took care of at least one resident. Now, that's not to badmouth the faith community, because these figures are, I mean, come on, maybe somebody just goes once a year. I don't know. But I give this illustration not negatively. I give this illustration to say again, to reemphasize the importance of attempting to coordinate with the faith community and the power that exists in the faith community to assist. Now, maybe I'll go a little bit off, and I'm just about done, but maybe I'll go a little off script with this. But I want to tell you that, and I'm going to stop here because I know I'm at time. I get that. And I'll send all this stuff to you. I've got a list of the access centers for SPA 6. I got a way to find SPA access centers and the other SPAs as well. I'm going to send all this to Toy for her to share with you. I'll get you.
You have time, Abel?
Huh?
You have time to go over that stuff.
All right. I'm trying to be respectful. So what I'm saying is that in SPA 6, for the faith community to be able to step in, that's great, right? Now watch this. Everyone here has seen pictures of the civil rights movement, right? So you've seen pictures of Martin Luther King, for example, speaking to a congregation, big congregation, packed. I mean, people are packed in there, right? So I give you that again because I'm very visual and I'm trying to share visuals with you. But check this out. First of all, let's get real. Those are all the different churches and et cetera working together and working with Dr. Martin Luther King. They were on it. Everybody's like, what happened to the civil rights movement? Can we get it back? Here's one way. So they were on it. But now come with me a little further. Back in the day, the faith centers, particularly in SPA 6, the churches, which that's the majority of faith centers are churches, they were sort of the citadel of the neighborhood. If you had a problem, if you had someone get out of prison, re-entry, you had somebody trying to run away from the crazy boyfriend who's beating on them, domestic violence. If you had someone who's thinking about taking their life, they're a teenager, so whatever, suicide prevention, all the different programs that we have out there right now, they would take that problem and they would go to the church. And the church then would either help them themselves or find help from whatever government help was out there. And meanwhile, they're being loved on, they're in the community, all that's happening. That was the power we had then. How do we get back there now? Now, I'm so glad Beth is here and Tori is here, because Beth is, again, from First African Methodist Episcopalian Church fame. Now, y'all know that they're out there in the community and they're connecting the community, and that's happening there. Holman Unified Methodist Church, Tori Bailey. Now, y'all know. Almost, hey, Tori, you be careful of these 64-year-old speakers you have come in. We lose your train of thought. But let me tell y'all. So what I'm saying is that that's what's happening, and I'm going to wrap up with this. You're like, okay, last year, you only mentioned one. There are a lot of other things going on too. But you mentioned the community, how you now are able to help churches in putting on a community resource fair. That's nice. So this year, what I'm now working on, and I just pitched it to LASA on Tuesday, to my representative there. I'm working to help other churches get either outreach team. A lot of them don't have outreach teams at all, or or once that's kind of going, to get a community development center like Fame has and like Holman has something like that as well, right? To have something set up where they're able to actually have that going on. Where they've got their church and the ministry they're doing there, but they now have a focus on the community and helping people who are in need of services like I was, and like the way things are, me and some of y'all, we on the border of having happen again. So that's my presentation. Let me wrap up, and Tori want to make sure I'm here for questions and set. I don't know how many questions you got with that presentation, but I'm gonna drop the mic and connect. Somebody told me that. Say Abel always speaks and he drops the mic. Say that about me. I finally thought about, I guess they're right.
Well, thank you for that, Abel. Are there any questions?
Well, I see you still have all this stuff up on the screen. This is Laura speaking.
You want me to leave it, Laura? Because I'm about to take it down.
I don't necessarily. That's up to Tori. She's the chair. There it's down. There it's down. I was going to say for South Los Angeles, not for Compton, not for Linwood, not for the rest of the city, but for South Los Angeles, the city planning department actually has a real good list of the churches because they have special zoning. And the person at the planning department, if this becomes something of interest, is a gentleman named Reuben Caldwell. And he's a policy and community planner. So he doesn't do casework. He plans for the future. And so he was the planner for South LA, but he's a little more senior now. He's supervising the whole area. But they basically had something called Q conditions. You don't need to know the technical meaning of that. But they put them on church-owned parcels throughout South LA. So out of the 38,000 property parcels in South LA, they know which ones are churches.
Oh.
So, they won't necessarily know the name of the church, but they might. So anyway, if this ever became something that you need that statistics.
Oh, no, my antenna's up right now. Do you happen to have contact information or someone?
Well, it's Rueben.Caldwell@lacity.org. And Rueben is RUEBEN.Caldwell, CALDWELL @lacity.org. And if it's and if we might have done the U and the E wrong, but
No, that's right.
because you know them,
No,
you're just guessing.
I don't know. I know how to spell. Unless he did something unique.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, I haven't. I had an Uncle Reuben spelled differently than that. So
without the E.
That helps me so much. Thank you. I'll reach out to him. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
the
I'm
list
sure.
I have is from the grunt work I've been doing. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, in other words, it's not going to be, nothing's going to be perfect because that may not include on the commercial strips any of the street corner churches, because if they never legalized themselves as a church, they just rented a space, they're not going to be on, they won't be on the
Storefronts.
Yeah, they won't be on that list. And similarly,
What I'm going to do, Laura, I'm going to get his list and I'm going to match it to mine.
Yeah. And if somebody just bought a house somewhere and then put their church in it, it's not going to be on the list.
Right. Right.
But
You'd be surprised what you can find out. I mean, for me, it's like, just give me the name of the church and I'm gone. I'll go online a whole bit. I've actually just driven down there and just knocked on the door.
I can attest to that. He just popped up in one of my meetings. I said, "Oh, okay."
That's how we met.
Right. It's been ever
I met my
since.
band instructor. I think was that the same day or another time?
Same day.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, his band instructor from high school just happened to be there. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So it was meant to happen. So, Beth, do you have any questions? Donna?
I have a comment, not a question. I just want to thank Able and Hopix. Again, we placed 3 or 4 people recently, and they were able to get immediate assistance. And, you know, we think of homelessness. Sometimes we think about substance abuse people or mentally ill. We had worked with senior population, and one of our senior gentlemen, he also was affected by the recession. He used to own a mortgage company, and he never got back on his feet. He fell into homelessness. Again, Sister Sylvia was a homeowner who had a fire at her home. And then we had Sister Helen. Again, she's always lived in South LA, or she lived in the West Adams area, actually, just south of the freeway. And these are senior citizens who are falling into homelessness. So again, that's a very unique population as well. We had one family, fortunately, we were able to get them placed in a motorhome. And one of the things I like about Hopix is they assist with the safe parking program. And one lady had called us recently, and I told her, well, if you have a car, you can at least go to Hopix and be safe. So there are numerous resources available for the various populations, not just the mentally ill or the substance abuse. We have people that have worked 9 to 5 and that are now on the street, and they're having a hard time navigate because they've never been in that type of situation before.
That's right.
And those people are having a harder time navigating than the people who are used to being on the streets. And so again, we have to be very mindful of the other groups as well. Thank you for letting me share, Ms. Torrey.
Oh, you're welcome, Beth. Since Beth mentioned that, there was a question I had, Abel.
Please.
The assisted livers again that I was speaking of, why don't you guys have them on your list? Is it possible to put some of them on your list as places for placement?
Yeah, so that we went over that yesterday. It's actually in the meeting notes because I was following up, and that was a question that you asked, and I'm glad you asked her that, the senior manager over the access centers. So remember, she's trying to find out how to get people on that list. I perked up when you asked. I'm like, oh, great, let's get some of the faith community, these people on. Yeah, so that the bottom line is from that meeting, if you recall, she's working to find out how we can get people on that list. So when I get that info, I'm gonna send it out to you, so you'll get that from me. To be sure.
I saw.
Can I go back to something Beth said real quick? I just wanna. I'm sorry. It's just. I just got something that was emailed to me yesterday, and I just read it. And one of the myths is that people who are homeless, you know, they don't work, they don't want to work, and all this old kind of stuff. Well, one of the myth busters in the list of myth busting that was given to me in this thing that I read documented that a good majority of people who are homeless are holding down 1 or 2 jobs.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You just can't afford a home. Only way, and my wife don't like this, but only way I got where I'm at right now is because we got more than my income doing it. So just saying, you know. So when people talk like that about homeless people, you know, I get a little sensitive, but I'm just saying that's not a reality. I'll tell you one more. I'm sorry, but when I used to get picked, I increasingly began to see people sleeping in their cars, and I wouldn't give them a ticket if I saw it. And then as the time went on, the many months went on, I began to see families. And even back then, I knew it was happening because I was experiencing it myself, you know? So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, really quick. Beverly has her hand up after I finish. Safe parking. The safe parking lot that you guys have over there, does the resident or potential resident have to have driver's license, car insurance, and something else they said was an obstacle that they didn't have sometime when they had to come to register for safe parking? It wasn't like that before because I met the owner of safe parking and they changed some things. Yeah, insurance, driver's license, and registration, yeah. It was 3 things. So is that one of the things that they require over at the Hopix lot?
You know, I don't know, Tori, and I told you you're gonna be stretching me, and no, I'm gonna find out and get back because that's the first I even heard of that. I didn't.
Yeah.
Who would you call there? So
Yeah, so
I'll-
registration, insurance, and driver's license.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had a real treat yesterday because you had the person who's over the access centers that I had all three of them
Right.
there for you. But anyway, I'll find out and let you know.
Oh, so
And
that's the
if
same
I find there's
person?
something like that, I'll be fighting them. Not fighting them, but I'll
Right.
be negotiating with them because that shouldn't have to happen.
Right, it really shouldn't,
I'm
because they're
sorry
trying to
because
stabilize.
no, because I live my life knowing that someday I may be up in that parking lot. So no, that shouldn't have to happen.
Well, hopefully that's not the case, but check all three of those, or what are the
You mean all
requirements?
three? All three?
Registration, driver's
Oh.
license, insurance.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out what's required. That's what I'm gonna find out.
Well, I will say, unfortunately, you can't have registration if you don't have insurance.
Well, yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you
No,
can.
Tori?
You're not supposed to get renewal of
Renewal, that's
registration.
No, I know.
Trust me, you can.
Well, you're saying that, but I will say, I have a car that's not operable.
Right,
But I had kept it insured.
okay.
I took it off the insurance when trying to save some money, and within a week, I had a letter from DMV saying they've canceled the registration.
right.
They don't play.
Yeah, because it's a state law.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know nothing about that part because
I
I know
really-
if you're registered and then you drop your insurance, you still make until it's time to renew.
I'll check, Tori, but I'm not gonna. I think it'd be crazy. Anyway, let me not say that. I'll find out, Tori. I don't think I think you just need a car.
Right, right,
I'll
but
find
double check, because I've
I
heard
will.
that's been an obstacle. And I wanna know what number Beth's calling. Sometimes I get people in on the same day to get some help from people, and sometimes it doesn't. And I sometimes know that not all people follow instructions to do what they're supposed to do. But is there a number that you're calling Beth that's different from the number I'm giving? Beth?
So
After,
go ahead, Beverly. Then I want to say something, and then Beverly.
well, after Beverly, after this topic, then Beverly. Okay, go ahead, Abel.
Okay, let me finish the topic because I knew Beverly's got a hand up, and I know you just asked.
Oh, Beth,
But
go ahead.
let me say, and Tori and I talk a lot. So the reality is, of course, that there's beds that get filled up. All this kind of stuff happens. In fact, when Millie, the senior manager from the Access Center, was there yesterday, if you recall, she was saying that they always recommend people to come in the morning. This is her statement.
Right.
By
That's
the
what I'm talking about.
afternoon, the beds are filled. So that's why,
Right.
because they're trying to place people in beds, and after they get them into beds, get them into a program, and they're trying to move them into, into actually getting housed, the whole process. So that happens. That's the reality. And then you get towards the end of the fiscal year, and all kind of things happen towards the end of the fiscal year, funds and so and all. So this happens. This happens. That's why I'm always trying to find where else. That's why when people tell me things, like Laura was kind enough to tell me about the church listing, they tell me about other services and other agencies. I'm finding out and making my little list. Tori, how I do it. So anyway, and the other thing I want to give you guys, and I really want, because Beverly's got her hand up, the hopicsconnect.org, I knew about it, but I began checking it out a little more. I'll give this to Tori, but it's just like it sounds. hopicsconnect.org is a real great database of different services. I'm going to be looking at that a little more to find more. Anyway, check that out, hopicsconnect.org. There's other services available. Go ahead, Beverly, please. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So first of all, Abel, I just wanted to thank you for sharing your story of self. You don't have to apologize for being emotional about having a lived experience on the street. You've survived and you're giving back. That's what's so important. I have another friend who actually was on the street for 20 years, drug addicted, and she's been sober for 26 years as of the 7th of this month. But what I'm finding is that I haven't seen such amazing things from Hopics in an effort to try to get people off the streets, because usually by the time they get to that person, which sometimes takes 4 or 5 days, that person is gone and they don't really have a phone or any way to assess them or to get in contact with them. But what I'm really interested in, which I was talking with Roger, is that There's this particular person who is drug addicted and who does want help.
Mhm.
And I want to ask you, you said you had an addiction. What do you feel was number one, the hardest thing to do to get sober? And then what was the second thing that kept you sober?
I just clicked the stop share because my finger was wanting to show you something I brought. Because when you and Roger were talking, I was thinking of the navigation center we have and a few things I want to mention. But you asked me something just now. I didn't know you were going to go in that direction. So let me answer, okay, Beverly?
Okay,
Um,
it's okay.
okay. Again, you have to understand that my life and the way I live, I come from a faith, that's the way I am. I come from a faith perspective. Um, I want to tell you that there are testimonies, there are Christian testimonies. I'm doing this for a reason. That people give about how their life got changed and the life got changed and when they met God. And many of those stories, it took a little longer process. I know there's a pastor of the Calvary Chapel of South Los Angeles, David Trujillo. He talks about how he got, he had his moment, but then he went back and then he went and he kept falling back to addiction and all this kind of stuff. So the reason I'm saying that is once in a while you'll meet somebody who had this instantaneous thing happen the day they met God. And from that moment, the rest of it was like a miracle, like touching a blind man and he can see again. And I'm saying that almost apologetically. You probably tell me don't be apologetic, but that was me, Beverly. I was heavily addicted. I used to long to be clear-minded, And the day that I had my encounter, that was April 16th, 1980, 40 some years ago. That changed. Everything changed for me, but not everybody else. So what I'm saying is you asking me that question, I didn't have the worst case I had was somebody a couple months later, some people got up and left, the police came for them, they left a big giant bag of marijuana next to me, and I'm like, that's the worst thing I ever. And then another time I was out on evangelism and somebody was blowing smoke on me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm high. That's the worst I had, Bev. But to come back to it again, David Trujillo's situation. David Trujillo had a faith center, a church, his church, around him and his wife and others who were helping him make it through it. You see, he's falling back in like, brother, it's okay. We love you, man. Come on, it's okay. You forget, it's okay. Not judging, but actually helping. He had that faith community around him to help bring him through his fallbacks. Does that help?
And from a healthcare perspective, I do understand that, and I also understand that the people that I've met that have actually gotten sober wasn't because they had an interaction with God. So
right.
I don't know that that's everyone's story, but it isn't the story of some people that I spoke to. So basically what I'm trying to get a picture of is a big part of the negative response of people who are wanting homeless to be invisible or gone is because there's a huge population of drug addicted homeless people.
Yes.
And there's a different approach and there's a different story that needs to be told as to how to help and understanding that you can't help everyone. But when I talk to people, when I see people like yourself and I see other people that I know who have been drug addicted and homeless and who are now thriving, I'm just wondering where the room is in terms of the faith-based church, and then how do you combine getting a person to come to church who's drug addicted, and then that process isn't going to work for everyone. What type of other options are available for people who may need to go into drug rehab, who may need to be isolated?
Yes, so let's go back to what you said about lived experience. That's reality. That's such reality that I was at the, that's the convention I went to, that national convention of homelessness or whatever, out in Washington DC a few years ago. And that's where I discovered we are way ahead of the rest of the country. But anyway, lived experience is a big deal. They were almost insulting to all the agencies that came, saying you guys need to hire people with lived experience. Why am I harping on this?
That's important. I agree.
Somebody, yes, but let me tell you, as somebody who dealt with this, and the thing about someone who's dealt with it, even though I had this happen when I encountered God, I lived with the sensitivity of it. I can sit on a corner if I find a guy out in front of my apartment. Unless my family comes, hey, what are you doing? I mean, I sit with the brother. We can talk, man. If he's high and I'm trying to talk, I'm not too high. You know what I'm trying to say? We can hang. I understand his deal. So what I'm trying to say is that in dealing with substance abuse, the most powerful thing I have seen, by the way, my brother had substance abuse and he got out of it, and not the way I did. So just so you know, but to have someone who has been through it is powerful. And you don't all have to have dealt with it in your life. I'm just saying, you're asking me a question. That is a powerful thing. And then the rest of us also, empathy, patience, forgiveness, and not like you need to get off of that, that attitude. I mean, he's going to fall back. Things are going to happen. You got to love the guy. You got to be there with him. And I know I'm harp a lot on the faith community. I get that. I know not everybody's going to be going to a church or a mosque or something. I get that. But whether you're in a church, a mosque, or whether you're just plain dealing with somebody out there through a nonprofit that's not faith-based, you got to love the guy. You got to be patient. You got to walk with him. That's in-house religious term, but you got to walk with him. You got to love him. You got to be with him. You got to be sympathetic to what he's going through. And that's why a lot of people who are a bit conservative if you understand, I'm going with this, but they can't wrap their heads around it because they've never been through it. They're not in the trenches like all of you guys are. They're not in South Central. I just dealt with the guy who was a missionary, and he didn't anyway. He doesn't understand.
So in specific,
Am I answering?
well, no, not really, but that's okay. I understand you got a lot to share, but here's the thing. This gentleman that I'm talking about, London.
Yeah, I want to come to that. Yeah, go ahead.
Wants help. And I don't know what his religious background is. I don't know any of that, or if he has a religious background. I just know that he does want help, and I know that he's suffering, and I know that he's struggling. And he's been disappointed. He's been disappointed with Hopics before. So if he gets with Hopics, what would be the program for him?
Okay. So first off, Bev, let me. There was a reason I was going to do this screen sharing thing. So hang on a second. I want to show you something real quick. I know you guys already know about LA Hop. You brought it up. I got this access center thing I'll share with a story that gives all the access centers. You guys know about the access centers. There's the navigation center. So
That's a good one.
that's in Spanish. Let me get you English. So is that it? Is that both in Spanish?
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I'll get you the English one when I say.
No, we're fine. We
I got
can.
mixed up. So let me tell you.
It's okay.
Let me tell you like this. I know we got LA Hop. The navigation center is just one of the access centers, but it's unique. Let me put it to you this way. I was at a clergy coffee with a cop, whatever. We're out there on we're on the Figueroa corridor, okay, where the poor children go to get their coffee at 7-Eleven. For this event, and then a guy came by, and I got up from behind the table. I'm like, hey man, this is now I'm talking about all the services we got. And I started talking to him, and he got out of prison 2 days ago. And the night before, he spent the night on the streets because he didn't know where to go. And he was going to spend the night on the streets again. So I told him, I said, hey man, this thing is ending in about 15, 20 minutes. Don't leave. I'm going to take you. I'm not saying I'm doing this for the whole city. I'm just trying to show you something. I'm trying to get the visual to the navigation center, which was only a half a mile away. So when it ended, I got him in my car. I took him down to the navigation center, which is on Manchester, right off of Figueroa, right there. And why am I bringing this up? The navigation center, the reason it's unique is when if I'm homeless back on the street and I knew this existed, I'm like, dang, I wish all this stuff was here back then. You take me there back then, or I took him there. There's showers, fully clothes, because there's a health thing that goes on with us when we, out there on the streets. I don't trust nobody. No, it's fully closed, brother. Nobody can get in. See the bottom, see the top. You lock it inside. They got showers. They got a full big laundry room. There's laundry. And this is powerful also. They have storage bins for them to put their stuff that they're carrying in the cart in and store their stuff, and they give them a little number and a whole bit. Don't leave it. They give them up to 90 days. If after 90 days they don't throw it out, they put it in the pile. Okay. So, and then they also have, I always put it this way. You bring the guy in, he don't trust nobody. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to nobody's intake person. I don't trust you. He gets a shower. They got clothing. That's the other one. They got a change of clothing for him. Now I got clothes on. I got a shower. I wash my stuff. I got my stuff put up. I'm feeling pretty good. I'll talk to your intake person. So they got the intake people there. They got the case managers and all that there who can now get them into the process of being helped. Now, having said, there's another thing I want to tell you. The navigation center, I know what Brother Roger was saying about LA Hop, and about it takes too long, et cetera. I've used LA Hop. I've had them actually come out and help a guy or two. There was one that came out, the guy was gone. But in your case, this is a guy who's going to be there. So, that's one way. But the other way, I'm trying to give you ways. The other thing about the navigation center, you can, and you can contact them, and within 48 hours, 2 days, working days, they can have somebody go out and actually pick up a person you got. And you can say, hey, man, they're going to pick you up. What I just told you, I'm going to give this flyer to Tori, English and Spanish, so she'll have it to give out. But you follow what I said: showers, clothes, laundry, storage. Damn. So one last thing, Tori, before I stop.
Okay.
Need in the city, and I'm putting this on the table that I know exists. And I don't know how to start it, but it's one of the many things I got on my heart. And maybe y'all know, but a transportation ministry. Who do we?
Yeah, we definitely need
How can
that.
we get that going to come and get somebody like this? Because to wait for I had a lady on a Friday, and she wasn't going to be there. She was at the Metro. I even called. It was too late. They couldn't get her, and and I'm like, gosh, isn't there somebody I can call? We need that service. So I'm just saying, if y'all know.
So, believe it or not.
That's Beverly. I just wanted. These are some of the tools I brought with me to give, and I'm just showing you, and I'll get that to Tori. Go ahead. Tori.
Do you have the address to the newest one? What's that one I visited
Okay, let's go.
the other day?
All right, let's go.
Where was that?
So I was in I was in the LAM, LA Metropolitan Church's meeting, and a very nice gentleman came. He's the one who heads LASA's Navigation Center. And I had been meaning to get over there and get a tour.
What's it?
A little better. Dewan, I forget his exact name.
Oh, Dewan. Oh, he runs
Nice
that
guy.
navigation
Nice
center?
guy, stand-up guy. But this
Yeah.
is what I want to make clear. I thought that navigation center functions like this navigation center. They are similar in name, but they're
Right.
not similar in practice. That's
Right enough.
what I got from his presentation. I want to make that clear. That navigation center seems to be more of a housing, their housing
Right.
and serving their clients that are housed. That's different. This is the CD8 navigation center that was
Oh.
not just all 6G or whatever. That this is different. So those two are different, Tori.
What street was that though?
What street was what? His?
But the
That
new
was
one, name?
Lhasa?
Because it
I don't know.
has Lhasa. It just has
Has
Lhasa
Lhasa.
up there.
Yeah, but again, I really don't want to confuse it too on what I'm talking. I'm talking about like.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Almost like I was on the street, and this navigation center can help him. That other navigation center is they try to get him housed in there. That would be
Right.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry
They
about
don't have
that.
beds here. This is set up
Right.
to actually get somebody in off the street and get them cleaned up and get them going.
Right. Oh, okay. That's true. Oh, okay.
And that's what threw me off in
Anything-
your meeting. I was like, what? You what?
Yeah. Ah,
That's
I was
what-
like, where is that place?
I was like, what?
But anyway, Donna, anything, topics? We're almost about to wrap up and adjourn. If there's any other questions, what's your name, young lady?
Bernie Jones.
You've been here before, right?
No,
Oh, it's not
no,
even on Zoom?
no,
Oh,
no.
he looks so familiar.
Have you?
Yeah.
I've been to the jazz. Okay, well, two quick announcements. Well, not that anybody's on that's gonna apply. There's a couple of $10,000 grants that's available, but for people that have any solutions for homelessness or have housing or give out hygiene or whatever it is, their solution is for homelessness to help with the situation. So, but it's due on the 31st, but Saturday I'm gonna have a instructional workshop where the guys going item by item to help you fill it out and get it done.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's one thing. It was something else. I think that's about it.
Talk
That's
about
about it.
Governor Newsom.
Oh, Governor Newsom, yeah. Did anybody wanna say anything about Governor Newsom in addition to what we said, Beverly?
Yeah, it's just.
Oh,
we
I
have-
just hope that he
Yeah.
doesn't try to ever run for president. That's all I gotta say.
Right. Okay, well, that was a very informative meeting. Let's give Abel a hand. That was exciting. Look at him. He has some homework to do with safe parking question and something else, but we'll look forward to the information and we'll share it next month. Okay,
I'm gonna get out of
everybody, it's 8:30 on the nose, probably.
No, it's 8:37.
Oh, woo, 8:37. We went over this time. Must have been a hot topic. Abel, you did good. Thank you. 8:37.